Good morning. Happy feast. Happy fourth day. I had to confirm with my wife. Those bigger and better things, as Mr. Hand talked about, and that's Columbus is where I grew up, and it's good seeing people from Columbus, and it's just a place that's near and dear to my heart, but we've been the last 6 years in Atlanta, and those bigger and better things are sitting right over there. It's my wife and my two young kids. So for those who don't know me, I am Ryan Schallenberger, and our family is here from Atlanta. And family, that is the theme for today because it's Family Day. And Mr. Graby actually touched on this a little bit, talking about the extended family that's here. A lot of our family is here, and of course, we all are family. And family is an extremely important topic during the Feast of Tabernacles. I just want to focus on one specific area regarding family in this message, and it can really be boiled down to this one statement. We are God's children, and we should depend on God as little children. We are God's children, and we should depend on God as little children. So as I mentioned, we have two little ones. Our oldest is 2, our youngest is 7 months old. If you've walked by our section or seen us, you might hear yelling, screaming, crying, and that's just from me. It's a challenge sometimes with young children, but it's also very rewarding. And it's wonderful also to see all the parents here. You see the parade of parents, and I think that's just emblematic of this is a feast site that we think of as a family site. And young children depend on their parents for everything. Our 2-year-old would come to church naked and think nothing of it. And in fact, just this morning, we had an emergency 45 minutes before church. He's sitting on the couch, and he stands up, and he yells, "Poo-poo emergency." Now, in any stage of life, that's alarming. That's alarming to hear. But he depends on us to change him. He has those types of accidents. He's just a little guy, and our little girl is even littler than he is. They depend on us for everything, and it's good. And it's not popular when you get older to be dependent, is it? Dependence is often with the wrong things. It could be parents' money, the government. You could be dependent on different substances, drugs, or alcohol to cope with life. It is seen as a fault, and it can be a fault. But with children, and specifically young children, it's pure, that dependency that young children have on their parents. And what are we in God's family? If you will, please turn with me to Romans 8. Romans 8, and we will look at verse 15 and 16. Romans 8, verse 15. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. It was mentioned yesterday about the special music a few days ago. I do love that song. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. We are his children. We're his little children. So let's consider the dependence of young children on their parents in these 4 areas. I picked out 4 areas. Number 1, for life and existence. 2, for love and comfort. 3, for joy and fun. And lastly, for instruction. Number 1, for life and existence. A young child's very life depends on their parents making sure that child is fed, right? A little baby needs to be nursed. Our son on the beach yesterday, the other day, we have to convince him to keep drinking. We have to convince him to eat sometimes because they need it. Their physical life is sustained by their parents feeding them. Our physical and spiritual life is sustained and made possible by God. Our great Father gives us the ability to live, the very air that we breathe, the fact that we're here, our spiritual life. 2, for love and comfort. Sometimes when my daughter wakes up, she's very young. She takes a lot of naps. It's not laziness, I've been told. It's just what babies do. Sometimes I'm the first one she sees when she wakes up. And at this age right now, she wants to see mama. She wants her mama maybe to nurse or to comfort her. And she gets upset and she might start crying. I'm not that comfort to her. I'm not going to blame her. If I'm the first face you see when you wake up from a nice comforting nap, it could be disturbing. That's okay. I'm not going to take offense to that. But it's more than that. Sometimes children can be distracted when they need love. So in certain situations, maybe in a broken home or in a tough situation with a child, and we pour them with gifts or experiences or toys and different things like that, when they really just need comfort and love from a parent. It's exactly like us. We dizzy ourselves with life's distractions, but don't we just need to be held sometimes by our Father? I know a lot of you, everybody can probably relate to the pre-feast things that go on in everybody's lives. We try to compress so much before the feast, whether with work or whatever. Things just seem to happen. You get a flat tire the day before, you leave. Those things just happen. And they can be distractions. They can be. We just need that comfort and love from our Father. Number 3, for joy and fun. We all know the environment a child grows up in heavily impacts their joy. I just mentioned children can come from such terrible situations, and a lot of it's not the parents' fault sometimes. What if they're born into a war-torn nation, or they're born with certain diseases, or a parent passes away? Things happen, and environments can be afflicted from the start. But it is part of a parent's job to create an environment that produces joy. I think that's why a lot of parents chose this site in particular to come to for our kids so they can enjoy the beach. It also means saying no to things that a child thinks will be fun, right? We were at Dave & Buster's yesterday, and my son would love to stay there for 6 hours and eat suckers all day. But that would be not a good idea, and especially after the fact. Does depending on God produce joy? We often look elsewhere for fun, don't we? And we sometimes think there's too many no's with God. Too many no's. Can't do this, can't do that. But look at what you can do, and especially the kids. Look at where you're at right now. Your friends are in school. You're here at the beach. Granted, this isn't the fun part, all right? I get that. But you're going to go do some fun things, and the feast is about being with friends, and you get presents and toys. Look at what you can do. Number 4, for instruction. If we stop getting good parental instruction at 3, what would happen? They may think that they don't need it, right? They may think that they don't need it, but they depend on it. Just like we sometimes don't think that we need this. Maybe I don't need to go to church for a couple weeks or whatever, but you depend on it. We should cling to the instruction from God, and a lot of it's because instruction is coming from all angles in our world, from a ton of unqualified sources. It could be from we let our child watch YouTube, little child channels sometimes, or streaming services, and your ears perk up, and you start to realize, you're trying to instruct my child something, aren't you? We need to cling to our Father for instruction, and specifically as parents, so then we can filter that instruction down to our physical children. So what does this mean for the feast? That we should depend on our Father as little children. My son is in a stage right now where he says, I want to be like Daddy, or I want to grow as big as you, Daddy, which is not a great goal, to be honest. I'm not super big. He needs to set some higher goals. He needs to literally set some higher goals. But he wants to be like us. And that dependence he has on me and my wife, that is pure love. And that love makes him want to be like us. Turn with me to 1 John 3, verse 1. 1 John 3, and we'll read verses 1 through 3. Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. Therefore, the world does not know us, because it did not know him. Beloved, we are children of God, and it has not yet been revealed what we shall be, but we know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as he is pure. Just like my son doesn't know exactly what it's like to be dad, doesn't know, like I didn't know at 2 or 3, when I want to be like my dad who's going to come up here and speak. You don't really physically know what that means. You just know, oh, dad's big, dad's strong, dad can do these things. We don't know exactly what we're going to be like. That's what the feast pictures, but we know we're going to be more like him. We're going to be more like our Father. It just reminds me of that song, Cats in the Cradle. I know I'm going to be like you, Dad. I'm probably butchering it, but we know we're going to be more like him. And that's why we need that pure dependency on our Father for life, love, joy, and instruction, because he sees us as his little children. And one day, these little children that we're all in this room, we're going to be a lot more like him. And that's what this pictures. So I wish everyone a wonderful second half of the Feast of Tabernacles. And let's remember, we are a family and we are his little children.